Welcome to OOO, an out of ordinary podcast where we dig deep into case studies and the nitty gritty of Web3 marketing. You'll find here all the amazing people that are building Web3, so stick to us as we address their marketing secrets and learn how to build amazing products and brands. Hello everyone, I'm Alex, your fellow Web3 marketer and the host of an out of ordinary podcast. This is episode 41. If you've been following me on LinkedIn or Twitter, you know I love to introduce you to new tools, resources, or anything you may find useful. So I think I'll start to do this more often on the pod as well. Please let me know in the comments of this episode if you would like that. Today, I want to introduce you to Dealfront. Now, we all know that getting through the decision makers can be a daunting experience. But picture this, a tool that doesn't only promise, but delivers. Imagine if your sales team and marketing team could target ideal fit leads and close deals all within a single platform. And maybe the best option you have right now is Dealfront. So what sets it apart? Its revenue engine is fueled by live European data in multiple languages, providing you with insights and access that other tools simply can't match. No more struggling to find the right decision makers. With Dealfront, it's as easy as few clicks. Now here's the magic. It's basically a revenue development engine that combines three stages: discover, qualify, convert, and harnesses them to automatically optimize your sales process through GDPR-compliant data. Don't worry about compliance, as Dealfront meets Europe's strict standards, which we all know is very important, ensuring GDPR compliance many competitors cannot match. Want to see if this can actually be a game changer for your leads and deals? Well, you can grab a free demo today at dealfront.com. That's DEALFRONT.com. Don't miss on the future of successful deal making with Dealfront. And if you like it as well, please let me know. A link to the website for an easier search will be available in the description of this episode. Before I introduce you to my new speaker, which I'm sure you will love by the way, I want to let you know that you can now support the show both on Patreon and Unisub with donations in fiat or crypto. You can donate as little as $5 a month. I have been running this podcast by myself for almost a year, and I really appreciate you all for helping it grow. If you want to help me bring more founders and more amazing marketers on the pod and basically transform this podcast into your go-to resource when it comes to anything marketing related, you can find the link to both Patreon and Unisub in the description of this episode. Thank you so much in advance. Now, without further ado, let me introduce you to my guest. Sarunas Legeckas is an investor in over 30 crypto projects since 2017. Previously, he held the general manager role at Neobank N26 and worked as PM at Barclays. He's been spotlighted in the New York Times, CNN, and Irish Times, and is recognized as a top 100 digital challenger in the CE by Google and the Financial Times. Here's a bit of his speaker track record and where you might have seen him: NFC Talent, Crypto Mondays, Jury on the European Blockchain Convention, Startup Battle, Mentor e-commerce Basecamp by Outlier Ventures, or Web3 Summit Vilnius. Good morning, Sarunas. How are you?
Hey, good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. This is so exciting because I feel like kind of towards the end of the year, wrapping up this year with a VC on the pod is kind of a dream come true. So welcome, and thank you for accepting the invitation to be here.
No, thanks for having me. I was so excited to be here and excited to share, all the knowledge I have and hope it's gonna help somebody. At least if I help one founder in the making, I think I'm gonna be happy and I'm gonna achieve my goals.
I think we have planned out a bunch of good questions for founders out there. So let's just hit it off. Can you maybe tell us a bit in the intro about yourself and how you got into Web3?
Sure. So in my career, I had before crypto, I had two careers basically. One, I was working in fintech. So I was working in Barclays Bank. I was working in some electronic money institutions, and also I was working in N26, which is a digital bank based out of Berlin. So I was a general manager of 18 European markets. While working in fintech, it was exciting because it was basically creating innovation, digital innovation in a payment space. But then I realized that even these digital banks that we all love, like N26, Revolut, Monzo of the world, as I like to say, they are like a lipstick on a pig. So they have very nice UI and UX, but basically all the backend systems are legacy systems. So if still you want to make an international payment, you have to use Swift network, or if you want to make an instant euro payment, you have to use SEPA system, and so on and so on. And then when I came across Web3 and crypto in general, I understood that crypto is like a leapfrog innovation from what you have in a fintech space. But before even getting to crypto, I also had like a 5-year journey as an entrepreneur myself. That was in a property technology space. There's another fancy word called prop tech. Maybe not as fancy and not as popular as fintech, but basically what we were trying to do is we were like aggregating a lot of open data about different neighborhoods in the world and providing that to the home buyers or renters. So basically, you could tell about any place in the city, what are the crime rates, pollution rate, and so on. So I was lucky enough that we managed to raise a couple of rounds of financing and then exit that to the one real estate broker in the end. So yeah, I had a entrepreneurial journey from A to Z, which is exciting, which helps in my job today as well. And then back in 2017, I got involved in crypto because one of my good friends was actually in an ICO boom, was doing one of the ICOs, and invited me to be a consultant, just to kind of consult around business development and some other things. And I joined, as a kind of side gig, just to kind of really touch base on what crypto is and so on. And this is where my journey started. It was a lot of exciting learnings that I've had. But then bear market hit, and I decided that I'm gonna go do some other things. So I was like not really sure if crypto is my thing. But back in 2021, I came back to crypto with full bang, and I decided to spend the next 10 years of my career in crypto. The more I got into detail about crypto, the more people I met, I realized that this is super exciting industry. I realized that it's super early stage yet. And I want to be part of it. I still believe the community of crypto is quite small. I know it's like a couple 100 million people now around the world, but still it's very small in comparison to, like, I don't know, internet users or mobile phone users or something like that. So back in 2021, my co-founder, another GP at Founderheads, Alex, was the first successful IDO here in Lithuania, where we're based. And we kind of, organically started, advising some other co-founders in our network, or investing smaller checks. And this is how we decided to found Founderheads, which is a boutique VC, crypto native that invests in crypto startups. So we've been doing that for 3 years now. Invested in around 35 companies. We usually invest in pre-seed and seed stages. So in those stages, there's no product market fit. If there is an MVP, or if there is a small demo with a very early traction, it's already good. So basically, the biggest thing what we can bet on is other founders. So I think betting on founders and understanding their mindset is really what helps me kind of define where I want to invest and why. So just finishing off and expanding on Founderheads. As I said, we're like early stage. I usually invest between 50 and 250K. Early stage, we're kind of vertical agnostic. In our portfolio, we have cybersecurity companies, infrastructure node providers, NFT infrastructure projects, MEV social tokens, and basically all other buzzwords you can think of in crypto. So but it's enough about my introduction. Sorry.
I think it was a pretty good introduction, and I think you actually answered a bunch of the questions that I had, like in the beginning of the conversation. So thank you for that. So maybe I'm gonna take it back a notch, let's say, and ask you why are you still motivated to like invest in crypto? Like, why do you still invest in Web3 related projects? And why I'm asking you this is because I feel like recently around my circle, I feel like, okay, I think that there are two types. You go to conferences. I just came back from NearCon. You meet a bunch of people. Everybody's super hyped and so on. And in these conferences, you can't really say, oh, we're disappointed, we're going back to Web2. Like, nobody's ever going to say that. But there are Web3 enthusiasts, let's say, people that have been running podcasts or doing anything marketing related, and not only in Web3. And many of them told me, actually, I think I've had enough. I think the market is really bad right now. I think I should go back to Web2 until who knows. So especially for you, for somebody who's like betting your money on this kind of projects, like what is your driver to still believe in the industry and to believe that it can actually have an impact moving forward?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a multi-layer question, I would say. What motivates myself? So I think I always wanted to be, in a early days of a new growing industry. Maybe I was a bit too young when the internet was there, so I was still like whatever 6 years old or like 15 years old. I don't remember what is the exactly starting time of internet. Is it 95? Is it 2000? Is 2005? Let's say, but just let's say around 2000. So maybe I was still too young to kind of really be at the forefront of internet and kind of really feel the impact and make an impact on a really growing industry and technological industry and so on. The same happened with maybe mobile phones. The same happened with AI. I always I was on the sidelines. Maybe I was also like cynic or critic in the beginning. Because it's very difficult, to criticize new tech. As one good investor actually said, all new tech and innovation has to be weird, right? If it's not weird, it's not radical innovation, right? So I think now it's the same with crypto. A lot of people in my circle, 95% of people of my friends or my social network, they basically don't understand crypto. We always have big arguments. They actually think in these all the ways of thinking about, how you think about financial world, they think the same about crypto and so on and so on. So I really like it. I think it's very early stage. I feel like I have an impact, obviously a big opportunity for myself. So that motivates me. And another thing is, I've been a founder myself, so I really enjoy working with other smart people. I've worked in, like, as I said, fintech, prop tech, some other businesses before, but crypto is the first truly global industry, I would say, where like boundaries really don't matter. It doesn't matter whether you're from Eastern Europe or you're from Africa or you're from Latin America. Everyone's treated equally, right? It's like all about how good is your project, what you are doing, how you want to make crypto better and so on. So that I think motivates me a lot. And then the second part of your question, that some people are leaving crypto. I mean, there are always people. I have some really smart people that are actually leaving crypto, but I also know a lot of people that are actually coming to crypto even now. One of the biggest trends I've noticed, especially when I go to the conference in the United States, that I meet a lot of people that are actually from Meta, Google, Microsoft, that are actually going to Web3. And when they're going there, they never come back to Web 2, right? And I think this is one of the major shifts I see in crypto, because crypto is developers for developers. It's actually built, it's very difficult to use with its MetaMask, with its exchanges, with its DEX, right? And I'm really looking forward when these product people that actually build products for hundreds of millions, even billions of people, because some of the meta products are used by billions of people, actually coming to Web3 and going to help build the products that masses can use. So yeah, I see bigger trend there, so I'm not worried at all.
I was about to say that all these people from Microsoft and Meta and so on, of course, they were kind of the forefront of the innovation initially. And right now, of course, like when they get into Web3, like they don't want to go back.
Sure. And I think it's one of the best things.
Something I found out actually recently-ish was that I think Accenture has over 3,000 people working on the metaverse as metaverse specialists.
Wow.
And you would never thought for a company that's like so big and it's so complex, let's say, you would think it's so traditionally established.
Yeah, I mean, I also recently read it somewhere that I think 80% of all top 500 companies actually working on Web3 or blockchain products, and I think in the next bull run, we'll have the opportunity to see some of these MVPs or tests going live. Even myself, I recently joined Outlier Ventures, an accelerator based out of London, as a mentor, and the cohort that I'm mentoring in is sponsored and initiated by Walmart. So, for instance, it's super interesting that one of the biggest retailers in the United States and in the world, is actually working also on blockchain and interesting in solutions that can offer. So yeah, I'm really positive that in the next couple of years we'll see more and more companies coming out with blockchain products.
What is your long-term goal here when it comes to investing into this kind of startups? Except money, of course.
Yeah, it's really good question. I think in general in this world, it's very difficult to have very long term goals. I don't know, maybe it's just me. It's just changed. When I was younger, I would like really think very long term and so on. For now, I really enjoy doing what I'm doing. I enjoy Web3. I'm enjoying that I can make an impact. I'm enjoying that I can support a lot of cool people, that I can travel and meet a lot of nice people that are building very cool tech. So I think my goal in the next year, in 10 years, would be just coming along with the industry, making it better, and really hope to get to this point of mass adoption of crypto. I think this is my long-term goal, is to actually go against the critics and actually make and be part of the industry that will make like really big applications that going to improve industries, whether it's financial services on Wall Street. This is how we're going to borrow and lend money, or how we're going to buy our shares, or how we're going to buy our tokenized real estate or something like that, or whether it's creator economy, or whether it's something else that maybe we haven't even thought about it. So my long-term goal is just to kind of make my way to mass adoption together with crypto, and support as many entrepreneurs as possible. So
You also mentioned that you've been an entrepreneur yourself. What do you think are the biggest lessons you now take with you in this VC?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it's just much easier um, to kind of, when you've been into entrepreneur shoes, you know how they think, and then you know how to be on the other side as a VC, right? But entrepreneurs actually like really admire it. We're very like open about it, that we like two entrepreneurs that put together this fund, and we invest in other entrepreneurs, and want to help and be hands on, because a lot of VCs actually. The people that are managing some of the VCs are just actually financial people, right? They are like just money managers, which is a very, very different thing to what like maybe entrepreneurs are managing a fund. Obviously, both sides can have, I guess, pros and cons, but basically for me, it really helps to get into the head of entrepreneur, to kind of understand how they think, what they're trying to hide. Are they honest? Are they not honest? Are they trying to create you FOMO that we already is oversubscribed on our round, so you should hurry up, and all these kind of things, because we've used all the same tricks in the past. So yeah, it's just much easier. I think I can read the other founders much better than any other regular money manager in your VC. So that helps me a lot.
I think like now that you're saying it, I think it does make a lot of sense, because I've been working with startups my entire life. So I've kind of learned some of the tricks, let's say. So if I were to be put in like many situations, I kind of smell when it's like truthful or when it's
Sure.
not. So you do make a very good point there. Something else you also mentioned to me is that you felt like there are a lot of like I wouldn't call them sketchy, but let's call them untruthful VCs out there. What do you think brings you credibility, and how do you support the founders in their journey?
Yeah, sure. So basically, one of the personal ethos why we created Founderheads was that both me and my partner Alex, we had some bad experience with VCs, especially in crypto. There's a lot of VCs that basically promise you a lot of things. Everyone can get you a listing on Binance and all that kind of stuff that we all know that it's not true. And then basically as soon as they transfer the money, they disappear, or as soon as they get their tokens, they just dump in large chunks, not thinking about long term of the token performance or something like that. So we had some of these VCs in our own network, and really didn't appreciate them. So we kind of also know what is the bad VC or definition of bad VC, and we're trying to be the opposite. So that's the biggest thing, and yeah, we try to be different. We try to provide value. Another thing what maybe makes us different is that we don't have LPs, so we don't have this LP GP structure. We invest our own money, so that makes us different as well. We make our bets more carefully, but when we do, we try to kind of really bond with the founder, help them out, and I would say actually, for a founder, just having some psychological support sometimes is more important than actually a connection or intro or something like that, right? So there are numerous times where, for instance, I spend 1 or 2 hours on the phone or even in a car with the founder, where he or she, I don't know, maybe got separated with a partner and then said, I'm not motivated to build this project anymore or something like that. And I had to talk and like kind of, explain how the world works, and like it's not the end of the world. So I think all these kind of things and personal touch gives us a lot of credibility. And I think the most important part, obviously, is word of mouth. It's what your founders from your network, from your portfolio, are talking about you, right? So always try to be as nice as possible, as supportive as possible. Obviously, not every time you can do it. It's still everyone has a constraint of time. But basically, I think we're just trying to build our credibility by being helpful, nice people, and yeah.
Something I wanted to ask. Yeah, I remember now. Something I wanted to ask was regarding, because I don't want to miss this question. What is, because you said, as you said, like investing our money, you don't have like a big board or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
What are some criteria that these companies need to fill before asking you for money, or what kind of criteria should they fill before you decide to invest in them?
Yeah, it's a very good question. Maybe because we are very new as a VC, maybe because we don't have LP money and we invest our own money. We don't have like a list of criteria that we check the boxes, right? For us, is actually a combination of a lot of things. So first of all, we need to vibe with the founders. We need to like the people we're going to be working with, because I think our investments are a bit more personal than from a regular LPGP VC fund. So I think so clicking with the founders is one of the most important part, right? Then obviously we look at a vertical. Is it, I don't know, a DeFi project? Is it a social fi? Is it a GameFi? And we just look if we have too much exposure into certain vertical or too little exposure. Maybe now we're saying, oh, we just want to get an investment in, I don't know, ZK technology or something like that. We're just going to go after that, and so on and so on. Then the stage of the project is very important, and valuation. Obviously, we're targeting a bit more early stage projects. This is where we believe we can contribute more and provide more added value. So if we get the lead that's actually raising 100 million at 500 million valuation, usually it's not our cup of tea. We are small of a fund for a big project like that. We don't have that much experience, growing such a big project, and so on and so on. So this would be some of the criteria that, like very high level criteria that actually could make a go no go decision. And then there are smaller details like is the tech good? What stage is the tech in? How the team together is vibing? What's the composition of the team? And many other things. I could go on and on for the list of criteria that actually have to click in order to make the decision. But there are many criteria into this equation, because we just announced that we reviewed 438 leads projects in the Q3 and only made 3 investments. So you can understand how big of how small of the conversion rate there is, and how selective we are. And I think it's not us. I think it's a conversion rate of the most VCs and these days in general. But yeah, you have to understand that the competition for money is quite big.
Of course, I've kind of noticed, as I said, like I've been working with early stage startups, like both in like Web 2, and I'm seeing it in Web 3 right now as well. So I think it's even tougher right now, and especially with this bear market and everything that's been happening for the last like year and a half. I don't know if it's actually worth to ask you about diversity in your investments, but not in terms of like verticals, but in terms of men or women. I'm
Mhm.
guessing they're mostly men, but I just wanted to pop it there.
Uh, I could actually be very proud of that. So we are a very small team, small and lean. So we have me and Alex, two GPs and co-founders. We have Simona, who's our investment manager, and we have Monica, who's our CMO. And we have Linus, who just joined us as head of business development. So basically, even before Linus joining, we were like four core people in the team, and we're like two guys and two girls. So we had 50-50. I think it's a very unusual ratio, which is good. We're like very proud of, and we still are. Talking with the projects that we invest, obviously it's dominated by men. But I see more and more women in Web3 space, especially when it comes to like creative economies, when it comes to kind of there is a big trend around NFTs, fashion, digital fashion, all that kind of stuff. So I really meet a lot of female founders and so on. As well, I'm super happy to say that when talking to other VCs, the split between men and women is actually not that big. I think it's like very even. Just yeah, the more infrastructure core projects, they have more men, but I think we're slowly getting to application stage where we maybe have enough infrastructure. Obviously, it's always going to be on, but we have more people building applications, and this is, I think, where more women are coming into the Web3 space, and I see a big influx of that, and I'm very happy about it.
Something I wanted to ask you was regarding networking, because like we both know it's super important, especially in Web 3. I think here at, as you said, like the community is so small, everybody knows everybody, even if there are a couple of millions of people, let's say. How do you cultivate and leverage your network to create value for this entrepreneur that you're investing in?
Mhm. Yeah, sure. I think obviously network is one of the most important things. Everything is much easier when you have a network. So it's basically what we try to offer. Obviously, we have a I don't know a list of almost 200 other VCs that we work with, right? So, for instance, if we really like an entrepreneur, we decide to invest. So we always share with this group of VCs that we are friends of and that we like, and we battle tested them before, so we can help raise money and get in front of a lot of VCs and so on. It's the same with like influencers. We have a list of influencers that can help you out, and so on and so on. And basically, if you look at every single step, we have a good network that we can help out, and I think it helps entrepreneur, because for them to go and reach out directly to, I don't know, 100 VCs, that maybe two of them going to invest, it's going to take a lot of time and effort. It's the same with like business development or marketing. Going and making introductions to a lot of influencers or partners or clients. I think everything still happens through a network. And if you have a good network, your portfolio can only benefit. So we're doubling down on working on that, and obviously trying to help as much as possible.
I was actually laughing with my friends right now in Lisbon that they were like, oh, so what would you like to do? Like, what are you good at? And I'm like, I know so many people that I think I would like to make a career out of it if I could.
Oh, definitely, definitely, and but I think it's a very strong trait or skill. I don't know, to have is to be able to network. And I know a lot of people that are actually making a very good living of just like networking and utilizing the network. So there's just some people that are very good at it. They go around the world in conferences, make all these connections, and so on. So yeah, I think they have to be appreciated as much as developer, as much as CEO, as much as CFO. Right? It's just a different skill set that is very much needed. It's nothing worse than I don't know, company that has a very good tech, actually is in B2B business, but don't have any good networking or business development person in the team, right? So yeah, it has to be a good combo of the team, and person that can do that is a must. As I like to say it, I read it somewhere that every team has to have 3 H, which is hacker, hustler, and hipster. So that's the core team, right? So hacker is the one, the CTO, usually that's coding. Hipster is the product guy, and hustler is the kind of networking BD guy that's doing all the sales, talking to investors, to partners, and so on and so on. So this is one of the checklist of the teams that we invest. Is always good that there are co-founders with these three skill sets, which I think is very, very important.
For sure. Something else I wanted to ask you was regarding investing in this bear market, because it's been tough, as we have already spoken about. What kind of strategies did your VC fund employ to identify promising opportunities during this period, and how has it shaped your investment philosophy?
Yeah, it's a very good question. So for us, I think beer market has been the most active time. I know I'm gonna sound like a cliche. Everyone says, "Oh, beer market is better than bull market," and so on. In a sense, yes, but
The builders.
yeah, exactly. But for us as an investor, it has been a very good time because we're still a very young fund. We're still trying to make our name in the industry, to prove ourselves. To have as many partners, to have as many investments, and stuff like that. So in the bull market, there's a lot of noise. There's the money is easily accessible, and basically, the projects are choosing, because they usually oversubscribed, and it's very difficult to get in a good rounds with good terms, with good teams. And in a bear market, actually, everything is the opposite. There are plenty of opportunities to invest in a bear market, because a lot of good teams with a lot of strong founders with very reasonable valuations are raising money, and you can actually even co-invest with like some of the biggest names in the industry, including, like, I don't know, Coinbase Ventures and A16Z and the likes. So for us, actually, most of the investments that we made were actually made in bear markets. Out of 35 investments, I think 25 were made in the last 18 months or so. So yeah, that's been good for us. We continue doing it. So one or two projects a month that we invest. I've seen a lot of different examples. I think the bigger funds, they keep investing, more cautious, obviously, everyone. But I also seen a lot of like these wannabe crypto VCs that actually only invest in bull market. Then they disappear for 2-3 years, sitting somewhere in the Caribbean. And then I see them already coming back to the Twitter, and posting. So I can feel the bull market is coming, because all of these wannabe VCs actually are out of the woods. So yeah, I think just the different methodology and so on. But I still believe, and there's a lot of money to be invested. I've spoken to some of the top five crypto VCs in the world a couple of months back in Singapore in Token 2049, and they said, we just raised 200 million. There's not enough leads to invest. What we don't know where to put the money in, and so on and so on. It's the same with like A16Z. They raised like 4.5 billion, and basically there is very difficult to deploy all of that money. The industry is still very small, so to deploy that amount of money, it's really a challenge, right? So there is enough money in the industry. I think there's not enough still good builders and good projects, and I hope that the next innovation cycle and the next bull market will again bring new fresh talent, new ideas, and the cycle will kind of bring a new fresh boost.
I'm kind of happy you brought this up, because, like, as you said, like, there's a lot of money to be invested in. I know that's very tough for a lot of entrepreneurs, but at the same time, there's also a lot of money to be invested. So I think somewhere there's a gap. So I wanted to ask if you can maybe give us some examples of some effective fundraising strategies for startups, and what factors do you consider when evaluating investing opportunities? I know I've kind of asked you this before, but I'm kind of trying to figure out like what is something. Is it the tech? Is it because of all the community building that people have done? What is something that draws attention, basically?
Yeah. So to answer your first part of the question is that there is no like successful strategy, right? The most successful strategy is to build good product with good team and be dedicated to it. That's the only strategy you need to have. The rest is details that you're gonna solve, right? I've seen many very experienced teams that build good project and so on. It doesn't matter what times there are. Is it bear market, bull market? They always raise money. They always oversubscribed. Everyone's want to work with them, and we had deals like that. Then there are companies that they're okay founders, they're okay products, but yeah, maybe there is some edge that they have. Maybe they have very good community, maybe they have, I don't know, big plans, maybe they had very good sales traction in the beginning and so on. And then if you're like the first case, if you're like really good founders with really good team, investors find you. You don't have to do anything. Basically, talk to a few people, and then the rest will follow. If you're not this 1% top exceptional case of the projects, then you might have to kind of maybe put in a bit more work. I don't know, to make a nicer presentation, to have very nice web design, then talk to people, maybe talk to more investors. Maybe it will take a bit longer time. Maybe you need to go down with your valuation a little bit, and maybe you're gonna still invest. But basically, if you're in this mid bucket, right, which is actually fighting for funding, basically you just need to be proactive. You need to kind of understand how to reach these investors, and there are like few very simple strategies. So
Build
obviously,
connections.
sorry.
Build connections.
Oh yeah, build connection always helps. So if you have any network of VC, it helps. But a lot of founders they don't have it, because a lot of founders they're like builders, they're not connectors. They don't like talk to people. They like building code, and I think this is what they should be doing. And then there are like very simple strategies, like basically you just Google what are the best VCs in crypto. You email them, you connect them on LinkedIn. There are another strategy of just like go follow some of the Twitter groups or Telegram groups, like ICO Analytics, for instance, which every week they say, oh, these were the 10 projects that actually raised financing, and they put logos of all the investors that invested. So, one of the strategies is just go to these, go check these funds, reach out to them. Most probably they deploying money. They're active in the industry now. Send your project. If you have more time, if you want to do more homework, customize your pitch. If you see there is one investor that's actually, I don't know, maybe have a lot of experience in investing in cybersecurity, then and you're a cybersecurity company, find the funds that actually invested in cybersecurity companies. Adjust your pitch, and then you'll have a better chances of like getting through the call, like kind of outreach and getting on a call, and hopefully having good pitch and an investment that will follow.
Something else I wanted to ask you was regarding like what kind of trends do you see moving forward, and do you think entrepreneurs should actually adjust their product or integrate some of these things into their product development? And here I'm talking a lot about AI, because like everywhere that I've been lately, it's all about AI. I don't believe anybody should invest or like should integrate that into their product, because maybe their product is not like for that market, or it's not that kind of ready or whatever. But I wanted to kind of see what is your opinion, and what other trends do you foresee?
Yeah. So in crypto, the trends change every other week. So it's very difficult to tell. Like very rarely, don't quote me on that. A lot of people might have different opinion, but we see an influx of LSDFi projects. So liquid staking derivatives finance. So everything started with like Lido, Rocket Pool, with some of these staking protocols. So we believe there is traction there, and hopefully there's going to be one of the kind of trends and verticals that are going to be popular. Obviously, GameFi I think is still very hot. 95% of all the investors I talk to, they say that that games and GameFi will actually be the front runner of the crypto industry and actually will bring millions. The thing was that there have been 1,000 investments into crypto games in the last couple of years, and they all been most of them are dead, but some of them are still building and launching now, or will be launching in the next 12 to 18 months. So I think we're going to have very interesting times in GameFi in general. People and communities don't understand that to build a game, a nice game, it takes a lot of time and effort. So that's why games raise a lot of money, and they actually basically are gone for 2-3 years just to build something nice and so on. So yeah, LSDFi, GameFi. Obviously, ZK, zero knowledge technology is very popular. A lot of people talk about it. It's still very early stage. There's still speculation. Is it there? Is it needed? If it will have application, if it's going to work, and all that kind of stuff. But at least this is the trend we're following and trying to invest and so on. Another trend that obviously people are excited are real world assets. Right. So that could bring a lot of capital into the industry and so on. So we see quite a few products that actually tokenized government bills, right? So you can easily park your 1,000 USDC into a protocol and generate 5% yield on government bonds. Now people are tokenizing real estate, tokenizing gold or something else. So I think that's going to be interesting. I think I'm not like less bullish on that vertical of real world assets, but I just think it will take more time because it's a crypto related to like real world industry that has its own regulation, has its own spin, and so on. So it might take a bit more time to develop and have adoption, but I still believe it's a very interesting vertical. So so some of these would be, I think, at least in our minds, in what we see, the deal flow that is coming is in this space. And obviously now it's a big trend of L2s, so layer 2s. In the last 10 years, everyone was about layer 1s, Ethereum, all the EVMs, and then all the Ethereum killers, and then many other interesting things. Now I think it's another trend is about all L2s like Optimism, Arbitrum, and then the specialized L2s. So it's very similar, kind of story and vibe I get. Used to be about L1. We'll see, obviously which one of them will succeed. Is it going to be multi-chain? Is it going to be not multi-chain? Nobody knows, but that's one of the industry and vertical that I also see that it's very hot.
Something I wanted to ask you, which I think is very important because you allowed me to roast you. So I think this is going to be maybe a bit of a difficult question to answer. Why do you think a lot of VCs in Web2 look at user acquisition, whereas in Web3 they look at community building? Like, why is such a big difference? Because of course the community is not they're your supporters, maybe they're there, but they're not like your buyers, let's say. So why do you think it's such a big gap there, and why do you think it's that important for Web3 projects to have been able to build a community before they ask for money?
Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of people kind of don't understand why a lot of people outside of crypto don't understand why Web3 has like tokens and why it's cool. I'm not gonna talk about tokens like Ethereum, that's actually is part of the ecosystem and so on. But a lot of token plays that we have in a lot of projects is basically trying to get community involved. And basically in Web2, when you acquire your user, some of them they become your kind of supporter, ambassador, and so on, because they just love your product so much. But in crypto, it's a bit easier because basically, if they bought your token, they almost feel like they are your shareholders, and it's kind of feeling similar because if I bought a token of optimism, right? I'm gonna definitely go and chill and like talk to all my friends that optimism is the best L2 there is, and all that kind of stuff and so on. So that's why I think it's important to build a community, to get them involved, to spread the word of mouth, to be every community member ambassador. And then obviously when you get the product out, they're gonna be the first ones to basically enter your product, test it out, and be your customers. So it's like, I see it's actually the same thing, just it's just named differently. Whether in Web2 you spend like hundreds of thousands of dollars of like Facebook ads or Google ads and attract these customers that are customers but not necessarily your ambassadors. In crypto is different. Maybe you make an airdrop of 200K to the people that actually use the early product to incentivize them to so on. But it's basically the same user acquisition cost. They pay to 200K for the tokens, and you share that with your community. So it's basically the same. It's just the process is reversed. And I think people, when they have the token and they feel like the token is growing or not growing by the performance of the product, I think it's just the best motivation incentive for everyone to be excited about the product and chill and so on. So that's why I think communities in crypto are number one to actually show how good is the project.
What do you think are some best lessons or best practices that you think you've taken from these entrepreneurs in this bear market, especially because you've made a lot of investments in the last 18 months?
I just really so one of the things is perseverance, right? So in bull market it's very easy. In bull market you just say, oh, I want to build this project. I go around the house, I talk to 20 investors. If nobody says yes, I just drop. Maybe I do another project, maybe go to Web2, or maybe, I don't know, do something else. Especially in bear market, I really appreciate founders that are hustlers. And I have some founders that actually we haven't invested, but I'm in touch for like 1.5 years, and they keep sending me updates, and they're getting better and better updates, and so on and so on. And this is what I admire. And there have been cases where we decided not to invest, but then after 1 or 1.5 years, they keep sending updates. You see that they haven't raised, but they made the traction better. Maybe they bootstrap for another 6 months. You just then see, and you're like so confident about the founder, because even without the money, they can actually make progress and so on. And then it just makes a no-brainer to invest in founders like that. So I think, perseverance, having a hustler attitude, and always hustling, I think is one of the most important parts, because it's very important. Being a founder myself, it's super hard work. It's like banging your head against the wall every day, and just like everything is falling apart almost every day. And it's just a new fire you have to put up every day. And that's why I really appreciate founders. And when they're hustling and going for years, it just makes my heart sing, and want to invest in founders like that.
What kind of like growth metrics startups should be looking at in Web3?
So I think it just really depends on what kind of product that is, right? If let's say, I don't know, it's L2, L1, maybe the growth metrics could be, how fast is the network, how many transactions can it do, does it break with a certain number of transactions, what are the gas prices, as I said, what's the throughput of the network. Then another metric of L1 or L2 could be what's the TVL, how many other projects are building on a system, how many funds are there on the network, because it actually says if it's a live network, if it's not alive, and stuff like that. If it's a tooling project that helps other businesses deploy blockchains or databases better. Sorry, I'm just making things up just to kind of prove the point. Maybe then the metric would be, how many clients do they have? What is the monetization? How many of the paying clients are versus non-paying clients, and so on and so on. I know that it's just because we're so early in Web3 industry, it seems like we have a different growth metrics from Web2, but it's wrong. Actually, we have the same growth metrics that in Web2. It's just maybe it's a different spin or maybe some of the people are not focusing on that. But other than that, if you're building a Web3 product that's B2C, it's the same thing. Let's say it's a game. It doesn't matter it's Web3 or Web2. It's the same. How many users do you have? How much time do they spend playing there? How many times do they come every day to play it? What was the last time? What are the cohorts? And what's the lifetime value of the customer? It's actually it's the same metrics. It's just one thing. We are like so fussed about maybe community and tech stuff that we forget about these other metrics. Another thing is that there are a lot of young people building in Web3, a lot of smart technical people building in Web3, but what we are really missing is like really good Web3 marketeers, product people, business people that actually can bring all the experience and metrics and how you actually need to have OKRs and how do you need to follow them and so on and so on. And it will come. I just really think one of the things why we don't have that is just an experience of some of the people and so on. But I see more and more of that coming. And now I was just talking to a project yesterday. They're building tooling for B2B, and they had all the metrics. It said we have these contracts. This is how we're going to monetize. These are the 3 streams. We double down on first stream. This is how we're going to change. This is how we're going to scale. There's no difference from Web 2, and I think it's going to be the same in the coming years.
In my experience, I feel like Web3 is a bit more inexperienced than Web2. I think like people in Web2 sometimes, like I think it really depends on the culture as well. So I feel like maybe it's a bit more professionalism, maybe because it's been around for like a lot more time. People have been building there. I don't know. But in Web3 in general, I feel like a lot of people have been hired because of their experience in Web2 maybe. And I feel like many times they're so unprofessional. And it's not just me saying this. That's a very personal frustration of mine, let's say. But at the same time, like you were saying, oh, the metrics are the same. I kind of feel the same, but at the same time, you have no idea how many times I've met people at conferences or at events that were telling me, Alex, Web3 marketing is so different. You know this, right? I'm like, where? Like, there are some different spins to it, as you said. Maybe there are some additional KPIs that you have to like follow or like metrics. But at the same time, you can't like reinvent the wheel. It's the same wheel.
Exactly.
But I think I think the industry, somebody actually called it recently that Web3 is a startup. And it kind of feels like that it's not there yet, but I can see progress, but it's very slow progress. So maybe we should all be a bit patient and see kind of how.
I totally agree. I think it will come. I totally agree. It's still an industry that is very much driven by very smart tech people and so on. We're still, as I said, missing this middle layer of like very good product managers, marketeers, community managers that actually will come and will have experience and so on. But yeah, I think it's not too bad. I don't meet that many inexperienced people, but obviously, yeah, I kind of feel that in Web 2 there's more structure, and I don't know, maybe people are not gonna like me for this comment, but I think one of the problems in Web 3 is that we have too much money. And when a company that has a presentation or demo raises 3 million, right, in Web2 world, in this stage, they would raise maybe 500K, okay, 1 million at best. So they have 3 times more money. They don't have this pressure. A lot of teams don't feel this pressure. They're like, yeah, we're building, we're like measuring something. In Web2, when the money is so scarce, you have to be like very, very spot on. We only have 6 months. We launched, we measure, this campaign work, doesn't work, this and that and that. In Web3, I can feel like everything's a bit more floating, a bit more fluffy. There's a bit more like kind of gray area and so on and so on. So yeah, but I think this, again, will normalize. I just think there's, so much fresh capital in the industry. Everyone understands the opportunity is big and so on. On one hand, it's very good for the industry because we can attract some good talent, expensive talent into the industry. But on the other hand, it's like actually working against us because people becoming a bit more lazy, a bit less stressed about the result where they need to get to, because they think, okay, I still have like 2 years or 3 years runway, which is unheard of. When people go to raise in Web2, they say 18 months what you raise max. And I meet sometimes teams in Web3. They say, oh, we raise our runways 5 years. It's unheard of in Web2. It's like it's insane. It's not good use of the capital, and so on. So yeah. So these are some of the things that I think going to be improved over a period of time.
Um, Something else maybe I should have asked you at the beginning of our conversation, as we're talking about speculation and Web3 and Web2 and so on, and people leaving and coming, and mass adoption and all. How do you ensure that the projects that you invest in are sustainable and they're not like scammy projects?
Oh, yeah, and I had all sorts of experiences. I would lie. I think everyone who's in crypto longer than a couple of years was scammed by one way or the other. Unfortunately, we have this in our industry, and as I was saying, a lot of scammy people I see were hiding for the last couple of years. And now they are resurfacing. So that's why I believe the bull market is coming. But one of the things is just personal references. I think it helps a lot. Just doing a bit more due diligence, research, asking around, trying to find mutual connections always helps. I think one of the problems, obviously, in bull market, because the financing rounds are closed so fast, and especially VCs have this herd mentality, and everyone's feeling FOMO, to be late in some kind of deal. Sometimes you kind of tend to ignore it, like, I'm gonna pass on this due diligence here. I see some good people investing. Most probably they've done due diligence, and we're gonna be fine. And it turns out they thought the same about you, and so on. So yeah, so just doing a research due diligence about the people, trying to kind of really find their backgrounds. I think for us, one of the things that stops us from investing is when we see that some people have multiple projects. So for instance, they're founder of this and that, and maybe they're running 2 or 3 projects at the same time. So basically, they're more in the business of raising capital rather than building something. So we always try to avoid these. So that's one of the biggest red flags for us. Then obviously, seeing that, I don't know, website domain name was created just very recently. They come into you and say, oh, we're raising, we have these biz plans, but then you see the couple of weeks back only things were registered or started, and so on. That also could be a big red flag, and so on. So there are many other kind of checkpoints that you can do. But yeah, these would be a few of like really must do before investing or partnering with a project.
Do you have any successful stories, especially on the marketing side of things, of like companies that you have invested in and maybe have shown like exceptional growth, or they have some like really cool story that you think is worth sharing on this pod?
Boy, many a successful. It just really, what is success? In different projects, success can be very different. So I don't want to kind of highlight any names, because maybe other portfolio companies will get offended, or something. So I can give you some examples. That some companies that managed to get a lot of revenue. Like in the first 6 months, they started generating like 300,000-400,000 dollars revenue, monthly revenue, in just like 6-9 months or something like that. So I think that's a super successful case, in whether it's Web2 or Web3. When you can make so much sales, it just shows the product market fit, the lack of competition, maybe, or the large market that you are in. That we had projects that in 3-4 months they managed to reach 1 billion fully diluted valuation, just because they were so successful, had good marketing, good product, very strong community of a couple of 100,000 people, and so on. We had that companies that managed to achieve very large volumes of trading volumes, and managed to kind of attract a follow-up investment in 12 months with X3 of the valuation, which again I think it's a big success for any investor in any project and so on. Success is very different for different projects or different stages of the projects. So it's very difficult to kind of explain one, but some of these I would definitely highlight. And for me also success is making friends with some of the founders. We attended the weddings of some of our portfolio company founders. This summer some other founders we always meet in conferences and go for a beer or dinner, and then ask and know about each other's families and stuff like that. So I think that's also success. That makes our job less transactional and more like kind of it's like a hobby that I have, and it's very different. I've never been an investor before. Always been on the building side, and but being on a kind of VC side, it's cool because I kind of feel like it's a nice hobby I have. I just talk to a lot of cool, smart people and just decide to invest and then help them out. I think that's what excites me about this particular job, and I'm very looking forward for the next couple of years and just working with a lot of smart people. That's pretty cool.
Maybe we'll get some of your successful stories on the pod as well to talk a bit about to dig a bit deeper into their marketing strategies, let's say, and how they got to where they got. Before we kind of wrap it up, I want to ask you, like, what are some resources or tools that you're using, or resources that you can recommend to anybody to learn more about Web3? This is a question I'm asking to all my speakers because I want this to be like an educational center. So let me know your thoughts here, or books, or whatever you can think of, blogs.
I could go and talk about a lot of like maybe smaller tools or blogs or this or that, but I think people can just Google or just follow some interesting people that. So obviously Twitter is very important for crypto. I think there's all the chatter about crypto is happening on Twitter. So for me, Twitter is just crypto, basically. But I don't want to go into smaller details or smaller things, but I always recommend the same book. Which actually blew my mind when I was an entrepreneur myself. It was very tough, It was really, really tough, and I was listening to podcast of Mark Andreessen from the A16Z fund, and somebody asked him why you're not building another company. He used to build he built Napster before. He said, building startup is very hard. It's like chewing glass and getting used to the taste of your own blood. But this is actually how I felt, and it was like seriously, like every day there's a new problem. There's, I don't know, somebody's leaving the company, they're short of cash, the client, not signing the contract, and so on. And I thought most probably I'm just stupid, I'm inexperienced, everything is bad. It seems everyone is doing just great, and so on. And then remember, I read a book called "Hard Things About Hard Things" by Ben Horowitz, one of the co-founders of A16Z. And basically, that was a story about him building a company, also from inception to, I think he exited that for 1.3 billion or something like that. And actually, that book was like insane because it was a story how it was difficult for him, and like every day he had a new challenge. Everything just was falling apart, and he managed still to keep it up. And when I read that book, it was like, it was such a relief. I think I'm like, for the first time in like 3 years building my own company, it was like, no, it seems everyone is like really struggling building, new companies and new products. It's not just me. It's not because I'm very stupid. It's just very difficult to do it. So every founder, I think, should read that. It would definitely relieve them from all this psychological pressure and beating of yourself that maybe you're not good enough in building something and so on. And maybe for new people that want to go into building, maybe they should read the book as well, because they need to understand how difficult is actually that. Because when you read all these stories, Zuckerbergs and so on, building all these empires, it's just like very few cases. There are like millions of entrepreneurs that actually fail, and it's super hard. So yeah, you need to think twice before doing it. So yeah, that book would be definitely my number one recommendation for every founder.
For sure. Where can people find you?
People can find me on Twitter at Sarunas Legeckas, or can just email me at sarunas@founderheads.com. That would be maybe the major sources where you can find me, or obviously go visit founderheads.com, where we have our Twitter, our email. So if you have a project, if you have any question, you can send the email to hello@founderheads.com. We're always monitoring that inbox and come back to you in a short while. So.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for this chat. I think it's been awesome, and I'm actually looking forward to speaking to you maybe middle of next year sometimes to kind of see how things have evolved in the last 6 months, and if the bull market starts picking up, and maybe we can come back with other lessons. But for now, thank you so much, and speak to you soon.
Thank you. Pleasure. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much for listening to our Out of Ordinary podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and you would like to hear more content like this, then open up the podcast app and click on the follow or subscribe button. It takes less than 5 seconds and is the single best thing you can do to support the show and stay up to date to more marketing strategies that are being used in the Web3 space.